I will never forget the time. I was a young man, and a minister made an offer to me. He said, you know what? I'd like to take you to the Philippines. I'll pay half the ticket. You pay the other half. I had 1 week to believe God for $1,000. My wife and I had no money. We didn't have $1,000. We didn't even have, I don't think, $100. And I remember putting my credit card down to buy the airline ticket, and I made a promise to Lisa, if God doesn't provide the $1,000, I won't get on the plane. She said, I can live with that one. And I remember all week, I just had to, my head was screaming, this is ridiculous. This is never going to happen. But in my heart, I said, it's going to happen. So I packed my bags. I did all the corresponding actions of obedience. But I did one thing that was a little kind of silly. There was a very wealthy man in our church. He owned 2 jets. He could write a check for any amount. He was very, very wealthy. I asked him to take me to the airport because I thought maybe I would help God to speak to him to give me the $1,000 I needed. And so I remember the day I was to go to that airport, I was walking around the gym. My bags were packed. We had a gymnasium near our house, and it was empty in the morning. And that's where I would go walk around and pray. And my head is screaming at me, what are you doing? What are you doing? Your plane is leaving in 3 hours, and you don't have but $25. One guy gave me $25 in a grocery store. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I was like, no. I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to keep moving forward. I was kind of hoping in my head that this guy, God would speak to him and he would give it to me in the car ride to the airport. I remember when my doorbell rang, I opened up the door expecting to see this very wealthy man, and it was a Bible school student. And I just looked at him and said, oh, hello. And he said, hey, the businessman couldn't take you. He had a meeting that came up this morning. He'd asked if I would do it. I said, sure. So we're driving to the airport. My head is screaming at me. Everybody's going to think you're a fool. But my heart said, no, I know I'm supposed to go on this trip to the Philippines. I remember we got to the airport. He said to me, can I come in with you? I didn't want to be around him. I just wanted to be alone so I could pray. I was like, no, I'm fine. He said, please let me take your bags in. So we go into the airport, and he carried my bags for me. He put his bags down. He said, listen, last Wednesday night when the pastor talked about your trip to the Philippines, God spoke to me and said, John doesn't have the money for this trip. He said, I stayed up half the night Wednesday night. He said, fighting with God. And finally I said, God, if you make a way for me to supernaturally give him $1,000, I'll give it to him. He said, last night when that businessman asked me to take you to the airport, he said, I was actually in bed. I about fell out of my bed when he asked me. He said, I'm just here to tell you, you have your $1,000, you can get on the plane. I will never, ever forget that situation. It was a faith builder for me. I called my wife from San Francisco. I'd flown from Orlando to San Francisco. We lived in Orlando at the time. I said, can you believe what God has done? Can you believe this? And I went over there, and my life was literally changed on that meeting in the Philippines. But I often look back, and I thought that's where it began with me. I tried to help God bring it to pass even by asking the richest man I knew to take me to the airport. And God said, son, I want to show you this is all about me, not about how much money a person has. And when that Bible, the last person that you think could even give $1,000 is a Bible school student. And you're probably right. But yet that was a faith builder for me. And that obedience caused my faith to go to a level that was just unprecedented. I had never experienced that kind of faith that I had now after watching what God had done for me as a 25-year-old man.